Hi, this is Samantha Catchy, and welcome to Telehope. Today, I'm so excited because we are talking to Stacy, who is the owner of the Speech and Learning Center. Stacy's been such a huge part of Hope for Three. She's been with us, I feel like almost like 6 years now, always supporting all of Hope for Three events. And so, families, we just wanted to take this time to just learn more about. There's so many amazing things they're doing, and so we wanted to I just wanted to be nosy so I can get you guys that information. So hey, Stacy.
Hello, how are you, Samantha?
And hi, Erica.
Hi, Sam, how are you?
I'm good. Guys, it's so nice to see you. I hate that we haven't seen each other in person. Our lunch dates have been like being postponed because of COVID, but soon we
Hopefully
have to catch
soon.
up.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so I have a bunch of questions for you guys.
Okay.
But I wrote them down so I don't forget because I love what you guys do and we get such an amazing response from our families. But I know there's exciting things going on. So I thought let's just chat. So number one, so as a BCBA, I work with a lot of kiddos, right, who need speech, OT, PT.
Right.
And a lot of times I find that families may not know the difference between what I'm doing versus the OT versus the speech. So my first question is let's get down to the basics. Uh,
Mhm.
what is speech therapy? How does it differ from the other therapies like OT, PT? And why do children who are diagnosed with developmental delays need speech therapy? I know that's three questions.
Yeah.
But I
You're at the love
yeah.
some good answers.
So I'm going to take that one. So we can start with speech, Samantha. Speech therapy is a skilled intervention provided by a licensed speech language pathologist. We call them SLPs. That they provide this intervention following a diagnosis of a delay or disorder in areas of speech, language, feeding, and sometimes a combination of two or all three of those areas. Um, SLPs specifically are trained to diagnose and measure and teach strategies to increase skills in those areas. So if we hop on over to occupational therapy in our setting, OTs are specifically trained to work in the areas of sensory integration and activities of daily living, things like getting yourself dressed, brushing your teeth, being able to write a note, um, and fine motor skills for sure. And so then if we bring in PT, that's the same thing. The OT and PT cross bridges a lot.
Okay.
However, PT work on gross motor skills,
Mm,
being able to walk and run and jump and do the things that you need to do to get to one place from another.
mhm.
Um, and then we have our great BCBAs, ABAs, they also provide a skilled intervention likewise that we rely on because they help to modify behaviors.
Mhm.
And sometimes these behaviors really impact language learning and just develop early developmental skills. Um, so understanding that, and sometimes there's a need for all three, for two, for, just collaboration. And so understanding the difference and the similarities and the necessities for sometimes all three or two of the disciplines is really important to know. So I'm glad we're able to kind of help clear that up a little
Yeah.
bit today.
Yeah.
Because it's just really important in terms of meeting all the goals that you have for your loved one.
Because it can be overwhelming, right? Like a parent may just get the diagnosis and they don't, being told, okay, go here, then go here, then go here.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
I caught that you said that you have OT as well. So it's speech and OT, which is so awesome that you're seeing both in your clinic. Erica, you said something, you made did you say, I want to make sure, did you say that speech pathologists also can evaluate for um, like finding out impairments, like speech impairments?
Yes. So
I did
we
not know
even
that.
yeah, so SLPs are the ones who diagnose
Oh.
disorders and delays in speech, language, social language, feeding, swallowing, anything of the nature. So typically what happens is you'll take your child to your pediatrician at their
Right.
2-year-old checkup.
Mhm.
And if Johnny doesn't have 50 to 200 words or putting 2 words together at 2 years old, then that's kind of a red flag. And your pediatrician will say, well, let's go ahead and follow up with an SLP and get some speech therapy evaluation done. And we do the evaluation. And then depending on the evaluation, we'll recommend services.
Wow. That is so neat. I just don't know why I did not know that. I really didn't know that. I'm like, what? This is awesome. Okay. So question number 2. Who is your client? Because you said a lot of things, right? You said you said a lot of things, but one thing that popped up was feeding. I was like, did she just say feeding?
Yeah.
I know clients who've had, they had speech therapy, but the speech therapist helped with feeding.
Yes.
But so obviously there's more than just the speech delay, right? So
Right.
can you guys explain a little bit more?
Yes, definitely. We see patients, typically the youngest is 15 months, and we also work all the way through adults. Anything, it might be feeding, and I'll get back to the feeding aspect. Also stuttering, articulation, where a child has difficulty producing certain sounds, so their speech is unintelligible. Language could be due to a developmental delay or maybe a medical diagnosis like autism, vocabulary, following directions. And then, of course, OT can work on also feeding, but all the sensory and fine motor that ERIKA had mentioned.
Mhm.
But I know the feeding is often a surprise that people say, oh, speech pathologists work with feeding. And we do, a lot of times it's texture adversities or taste adversities that the therapists work on. Every therapist doesn't do feeding therapy. We have speech and occupational therapists that do treat feeding and swallowing. They just have to have the special training to do that. And sometimes it's behavioral. Maybe they had a medical diagnosis as
Mhm.
an infant or toddler where that prevented him to eat certain foods. And now they've just become the habit of not eating anything except for maybe one food. So
Yeah.
those are definitely things that we have therapists trained in to work on, which is obviously very important functionally, but also medically for
Wow.
those patients.
Yeah, because
And
I've known clients who they only eat peanut butter jelly sandwiches, and they only eat it from a specific place. And
yes,
Right.
so mom, like when I chat with them, they say, we're like, we can't keep buying this frozen stuff because it was just a specific frozen brand of peanut butter
right.
jelly. And so mom took the box and then she made her own and she tried to put it in the box and she put it in the freezer. Like they've tried. I mean, it's so cute to see how much they've tried, but
Right.
it's like, nope, that's not it. And
know.
that's
They
not
know
it.
for
Right.
sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. Question number, this is going so good, ladies. Thank you so much for
Oh,
taking your
thank you for
time.
having me.
Okay, question number 4. Okay, so what are some practical targets or goals that are addressed in speech sessions? So I think you already named some, um, but specifically, let's just chat about kids on the spectrum. Say early intervention. Okay, brand new diagnosis, 15 months. I know everyone is different. No child has the same autism, right? It's all different. But
Right.
what would a parent going, okay, does my session look like for my child? Is it 40 hours? Is it 20 hours? Is it 30 minutes? What is it?
So logistically, our visits are 2 times a week, typically. Sometimes we go 3, 4 visits a week. Sometimes only 1 visit per week is
Wow.
recommended, depending on the needs of that child. Um, and then, so they're 2 times a week, 30 minutes. At the end of every session, we save the last 5 minutes. Well, now, because of COVID, we are sanitizing everything in the last 5 minutes, but
Mhm.
also speaking to parents and letting them know how the session went, answering any questions, modeling the activities that we
Wow.
did so they can practice at home and encourage generalization and carryover at home. Um, as far as specific goals that are targeted, like an early intervention or specifically a child on the spectrum, we really focus on functional goals for that child. It's really hard to start with a goal of, let's label zoo animals prior to let's learn how to sit down and wait and attend. So we call those pre-linguistic skills, and those pre-linguistic skills are absolutely necessary for language learning, or just learning in general. So we focus on pre-linguistic skills heavily, being able to attend and sit and wait, even modifying behaviors at times, which is why we rely on ABA so much to be able to help us wrangle those things so that we can learn. And then of course goals progress. And then we start working on things like syntax, or if the child's here for feeding, tolerating and successfully swallowing like a chewy food or a different food, or in terms of occupational therapy, getting them to be able to dress themselves or tolerate, toothbrushing, which is typically something that's really hard for the population of children.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you answered my next question. So my question was, how can ABA speech and OT and PT, as well as the parents, collaborate for the best of their child? So I think you already said that it sounds like Speech and Learning Center is very open to collaboration with other professionals. That's what it sounds like.
In addition to what ERIKA mentioned, we do go to, one way we collaborate is we offer traveling to some of the ABA clinics if they are open to that. So that's a great opportunity where usually the RBT is in this session. They're able to focus on the behaviors, so we can focus more on the goals, whether it's the pre-linguistic skills or vocabulary or whatever we're working on. And then the other side of it is for children who come into the clinic and go to ABA outside is, we'll communicate with the BCBA usually once a month for sure, just to make sure we're on the same page. What can we do? They'll ask what they can do. And then more often if there's a concern or, special circumstance going on. But definitely, and then OTs do the same thing as far as collaborating. But if we can all work together, it definitely for the benefit of the patient. It's definitely not a competition. If the ABA therapist can help with the behaviors, then we can do a lot more with their language and communication, so they function better, not just in therapy, but in the real world. And that's the ultimate goal, is to get them to the least restrictive environment so that hopefully they're independent and, eventually. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys are answering my questions as we go. So I'm like, okay, scratch. Okay. The next question, I guess you think, again, you've answered this. Do you allow ABA and other professionals to come into the session? And that's a yes. They can come in, or you guys can go to them if it all works out with the family, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so what are 3 things you would caution parents, or you would, recommend that parents look for in a good speech therapy program?
That's a really good question. I think the number one thing is find a place you're comfortable with. So whether you go tour the place, you look at reviews, you just call and ask questions. We offer a free consultation, like a free 15-minute consultation if a parent wants to come in, talk to a therapist, just to get a feel for things, and also the tours. I think that's really important. The other thing is, if a child is nonverbal or has very limited language, making sure they're addressing those pre-linguistic skills that ERIKA had talked about previously, such as joint attention, sitting and waiting, making choices, because those skills are so important to have mastered before you work on things like answering questions, labeling, and so forth. So that was 2. I guess the number 3 would be just that the therapist, this kind of goes with rapport, but that you feel that they're empathetic towards what the parent and family is going through, and it's different for everybody. And I mean, I think that the empathy is really important, so we can
One component.
adjust the goals if we need to. We'll ask, okay, is there anything else you want us to be working on, or these goals helping you at home, and we'll adjust them when appropriate.
Yeah.
I like that you said empathetic, because I think sometimes in our profession, clinicians are so, we've got to help this, we've got to fix this, we've got to nail this, we got these goals, this is insurance, we got to pass these reports, blah, 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 blah. And sometimes
Right.
we get so caught up with all the formalities and the documentation that I really like that you said empathetic, because
Yes.
it just takes a few minutes to just stop. Like ERIKA said, at the end of your session, you guys make time to talk with the family about,
Right.
hey, this is what happened, here's some homework, getting them engaged.
Sure. Yes.
That's awesome. Okay, again, I had to scratch my next question, because do you guys do tours? You already said that you do. Where are you guys located?
We're located in Missouri City,
Mm-hmm.
right off of Highway 6 in Township. We are in it used to be a Capital One building. It's a
Okay, yes.
brick building right across from Home Depot and Target. So if you know where those shops are, you can find us pretty easily.
Sonic.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
We're pretty central to Missouri City, to Siena, to Sugar Land, to just a bunch of, we're just real so central that, it's really easy to serve a lot of people in our area.
And it doesn't even, because I think I passed by last week, and it didn't seem, like you said, it's central, right? So it wasn't difficult, like with traffic, and it seemed very simple,
right,
out situation, basically.
Parking, free parking. Parking's always available, which is a nice thing.
Yeah.
And not traffic. And then if you can always go across the street. Do parents have to stay in the session with you the entire time, or they drop their kid off and come back?
Most of them drop the child off, and some will wait in the lobby.
Okay.
Now with the pandemic, some will go in their car and come back. Those that leave their child and have both speech and OT, because we do try to schedule them consecutively, so it's convenient for the family. A lot of times they'll drop them off and go run an errand, and then just back by the end.
Awesome. Okay, and then
whatever they're comfortable with.
Whatever they want to pick.
Don't feel comfortable leaving, which is understandable, and some can use it as an opportunity to run to Target, get a coffee.
Yes, I was thinking that. I was like, oh, just like 1 second, I'm gonna run and get a coffee because I missed it this morning, so I'm gonna try to catch up on that. Okay, and my last question is, how long does the entire process take? So I know sometimes when parents can call, it may take a month to, well, that sounds like a long time, a month, but I know sometimes you've got to get approval, authorization. So I just want to tell parents again, it's not that providers and clinicians are making you wait. We don't want you to wait. We want to work with your kid right in that second. It's like, okay, mom, give me your kid, because that's what we do. We love working with our kiddos. But realistically speaking, there is a time frame, right? So what are like right now, what would be your time frame? Is there a waiting list?
Right now, the time frame is when someone calls, the office staff will ask some basic questions and then gather their insurance information. And they'll usually get back to the family within 24 to 48 hours with the benefit information. And then they can schedule, I believe right now for OT, it's about 2 weeks to get a new patient eval, and for speech, it's about 4 weeks.
Okay.
And it goes up and down, because things change, but in general, that's what it is. And as far as authorizations and referrals, again, that depends on the insurance. Some don't need it at all. Most, if they need it, they don't typically need it for the evaluation, but they might need it for therapy. So then once
got you, yes.
Done, we'll write the report, and then the office will send it to insurance. So that varies from 2 to 4 weeks probably to get auth, because we write the report, we have to send it to the physician has to sign it, return it to us, then we send it to insurance. So it depends.
That's another thing I did not know. I did not know that you have to send it to the physician.
Yes. to sign for when they need authorization. Then
Wow.
we need to do that. So it varies, but
Depends
the
on.
office is really good about being able to answer those questions, give a timeline when someone calls based on their particular policy.
Okay, got it. Yeah, because that's another thing they can call and find out, because we don't want to go over that list of all the insurance because in case we miss one. But basically, they can call the office and they'll have
Right.
all that information.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we do take most commercial insurance and most Medicaid. So,
Oh
I mean,
wow.
we cover most. There's very few we don't take.
Okay.
So, but definitely they can call and
You can
ask
call and
for
schedule
sure.
a consult and just chat.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, ladies, is there anything that you would like to share with us that I might have not asked?
What do you think?
I think the only other point that I had that I'd still like to make is that, that we're just all one big team when it comes to SLPs and OTs and BCBAs and pediatricians and parents and teachers. It's just really important to be able to provide the skilled care that they are needing in order to just come up and become independent individuals. And to seek the specific discipline that has been recommended for you, whether it's ABA or speech or OT or PT or going through and getting maybe some emotional counseling. It's all something that's very important for the needs of your loved one.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you,
Yeah.
Stacy. Thank you, ERIKA. Stacy, were you going to say something?
Thank you.
I was just gonna say we are growing. We're
Oh,
expanding our space. We'll be in the same building,
wow. Uh-huh.
but maybe a month or two. How things go with construction.
Yay.
But so hopefully with that, we'll also be able to add some new programs.
Okay.
We usually do offer more social groups and even feeding groups, but with the pandemic,
Yeah, it's been
so
tricky.
that's put on hold. But that our new space will allow us to do more of that. We have some really exciting things. We have plans for the future when we move down there. So we're excited to get
Nice.
in the new space. So.
Okay, well, thank you, ladies, so much. Thank you for taking your lunch hour. I mean, I know it's been back to back, but thank you so much for taking your lunch hour, chatting with me, answering my questions.
Thank
Um,
you.
oh, you're welcome. And parents and caregivers, if you're looking for speech therapy, like we said, Hope for Three's been partners with the Speech and Learning Center for a while. And so if you're looking for, and as they mentioned with the feeding and all these other things related to speech, please, please, please call them. Their information is on our website under resources, but we'll also put their information in the comment section of when we upload this. So thank you everyone for joining, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.